Political Connections continues now with Political Times. Bay News 9 and our partners in the St. Petersburg Times Political Unit bring you thought-provoking interviews with newsmakers from the Bay Area and beyond.
Hello, everybody. I'm Al Rochelle, joined by this part of our program by St. Pete Times political editor Adam Smith. And Adam, before we introduce our guests, I want to read the official ballot language of Amendment 4. That's what we're talking about. Referenda required for adoption and amendment of local government comprehensive land use plans. Now, here's how the ballot reads. It says, establishes that before a local government may adopt a new comprehensive land use plan or amend a comprehensive land use plan, the proposed plan or amendment shall be subject to vote of the electors of the local government by referendum, following preparation by the local planning agency, consideration by the governing body, and notice.
Which sounds very boring, but the show will not be, because what we're talking about is the so-called hometown democracy amendment, which essentially would give citizens the right to vote on any comprehensive plan change. We're joined by Karl Nurse, City Council member in St. Petersburg, a leading opponent of Amendment 4, and by Dan Lobeck, Sarasota Homeowners Association attorney and a spokesman for Amendment 4. Karl, let's start with you. I mean, if you drive, not so much in Pinellas County, but North Tampa, all over the state of Florida, there's gridlock, there's overdevelopment, the status quo doesn't seem to be working. Why is this a bad idea?
Because this intends to stop all change. It actually keeps the status quo. It makes every change of any kind, not just on land use, but in the whole spectrum of a comprehensive plan, more difficult to make happen.
But that's a significant change when you're changing the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Why not trust the voters and the people who live there to make that decision?
Because you're not talking about something simple, and the challenge is that it has to be translated into 75 words on a ballot. These are plans that are hundreds of pages long, that involve everything from environmental permitting to land use to water, sanitary sewers. It runs the whole spectrum.
So, Dan, who has this kind of amendment, and why do you think it's a good thing?
Well, a million people signed petitions to put this on the ballot. This is a populist movement by the people that believe growth is out of control, that overdevelopment has crashed our economy, that the people deserve a seat at the table, the final say over changes to the vision that governs the future of our communities. To say this would stop all development is nonsense. The existing plans would allow a 5 times increase in population throughout the state, including in this area, without any comp plan amendments. And the people aren't going to vote them down. In St. Pete Beach, there was something similar. They voted for all the comprehensive plan amendments. This is just an attempt to get a better grip on growth, to allow people to decide, finally, at the end of the day, whether a subdivision is made out of a farm or other major changes are made.
What do you say to those, like virtually every major newspaper editorial board is saying, not necessarily big friends with developers, say, yes, we got to get a grip on development, but this is too draconian, that at a time when our unemployment rate is more than 12%, our economy completely depends on development, this goes too far and is the last thing we need?
Well, they haven't done a very good job so far, have they? I mean, they've had the reins of power, and I can understand Karl wanting to keep complete reins of power. But the commissioners and the council members throughout Florida have done a very poor job. They've allowed too much development. And again, without changing the plans, they can still do a whole lot more development, decades worth. If their plans are so good, why keep changing them to allow more and more growth and development that's crashing our economy today?
Karl, nobody has been able to get a good hand on growth. But now here we're in an economy where we're not talking about growth. Now we're talking about, shrinking population leaving the state of Florida. If this amendment is passed, do you fear that we could see more shrinkage in the state?
Well, you certainly won't create any jobs. I think that's unquestionable, because any project is likely to require twice as much time to make happen. Let me use high-speed rail. High-speed rail or light rail, they both will require changes in land use around those rail stops. Do you want to double up the referendums every time you want a rail stop? That would require that.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's a good assumption that people would be very supportive of that, would be happy to vote for something like that.
I would hope so, but you need to understand that that you're either going to pay, in the case of St. Pete, $300,000 for a referendum, or you're going to wait until the next time we have an election.
So let's take one NIMBY. Let's say you're a Pasco County resident. There's some big development that's planned for near Trinity in southwest Pasco that the community wants to get around over there. and then you're a voter in the far end of of East Pasco, why should you care? Why should you be voting on something that you probably will barely be affected by?
All the voters have to pay for the infrastructure to support the development. Our taxes have been going up because development is subsidized by the taxpayers. And if at any time you drive those roads, you're going to be impacted by that development as well. And so people can care what happens in the other part of their county. It's not just the affected neighborhood. But this gives those neighbors a chance to influence other people and say, no, this isn't a good idea. This major change should not be.
All right, now speaking of subsidizing growth, we just saw last year where the legislature basically took a step toward gutting growth management. It's in the courts right now. But if you're somebody that's concerned about growth in the state, shouldn't you look at that legislature that's going to be more pro-growth in the next session and say, whoa, I don't trust these guys. This may be a way to rein them in.
Well, I think it's important to remember that the bill you're talking about, the legislature passed, was opposed by the cities, and it was the cities that went to the court to get this thrown out.
You didn't oppose it. St. Pete didn't go to court.
We did not join the lawsuit because there were already 16 cities and 4 counties.
And in fact, St. Pete, I think with your help, has got a what some people are calling a diabolical plan to bypass this amendment. Well, it is. I mean, it's basically not trusting the voters. If this passes, as I understand it, you would have a decoy comp plan that would not be subject to this.
Well, somebody has accused us of that. It happens not to be true. When we did our comprehensive plan, we involved thousands of people, and we did get pretty enthusiastic. We have 14 different categories for residential zoning. In the plans that we're talking about, we would have a residential category.
So then, let's just cut to the chase. If this passes, this thing that my friend Howard Troxler has written about, you're suggesting he's wrong.
Oh, he is wrong. That's clearly wrong.
And that no matter what, any change to the comprehensive plan will go to a referendum in the city. Yes or no?
Any change that moves from residential to corridor use or a
sounds like it can't be a yes or no. Isn't it a yes or no?
Well, it isn't a yes or no. As long as you're staying within residential, it would not require a referendum. If you go from residential to any of the other more intense development uses,
Dan, I showed up at the polls and there was some no on 4 activists and operatives are working. Handed me a ballot that was this thick and said, if this thing passes, that's what Mabel from Pinellas Park is going to go have to vote on a ballot that is indecipherable.
47 pages, 562 issues. It's a lie. You're going to be hearing lies over and over again. The development community has raised $7 million since April to pack our mailboxes and our airways with outright lies. Those are not real numbers. I mean, Pinellas County has had 20 comp plan amendments per year on average over the past several years. They've only had 5 so far this year.
Karl, you get the last word on this. Vote no on Amendment 4. From your perspective, why?
It is complicated. It's really unnecessary. It makes it more difficult to make any kind of change, to do anything. I can tell you that in St. Petersburg, we have lots of experience being developers. I've participated in those campaigns numerous times.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We're out of time, folks.
You.
It's Amendment number 4. And as far as we know, unlike some of the other amendments that were tossed out, this one looks like it's a go. So look for it in the ballot coming up. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.